JB here, August 15, 2024, 220 here on this fine Thursday afternoon. We call this Retail Sales Thursday, but pretty remarkable rally off the lows last Monday. All the headlines today. Oh my gosh, retail sales, biggest gain in 1.5 years. You have the weekly jobless claims dropping to the lowest in 5 weeks. All this on the heels of last Monday when everybody was calling for a emergency Fed meeting, emergency rate cut, so on and so forth. So interesting stuff here, folks. Some of the names I'll talk really quick about some of the names I'm looking at, the overall market, and go from there. But you take a look at the SPY, just a massive move off that 509 break last Monday, and we're up pretty much recouping most of the losses before it was Thursday and then Friday's jobs report. So uh, pretty nice setup here. And then we have tomorrow and then next week's Jackson Hole. We have Fed Chair Powell. He typically does the opening remarks, so that it's typical that the Fed Chair does the opening remarks at Jackson Hole. And there's been some pretty momentous comments made from some of the Fed chairs, Bernanke, so on. Janet Yellen did a speech. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. But he's probably just going to set the expectation for at least a quarter rate cut and set the path for possibly 3 rate cuts to end the year. And I think that overall will be somewhat bullish. So we'll have to see how things set up here into the end of the week. And I think we can near all-time highs before the September volatility and October volatility starts to creep back in. But take a look at the SPY, finally back over that 50-day moving average. And then the silver lining, and I always say the silver lining, but the small caps finally back to outperforming, up nearly 3% today. If that continues into tomorrow, I think that bodes well for more upside. And then last but not least is the VIX. And just 7 days ago or 8 days ago was at 65. It's back under 15. Even 18 a couple weeks ago was construed as pretty high, and now we're under those historical levels. So I think that all bodes well for more upside. But at the same time, I mean, we've seen what happened, and there's a lot of negativity around the market. People are concerned. The R word, which I made a joke today, is become retail sales as opposed to recession. But there's still concern there. So we're gonna have to see more data. We're gonna have to see the August jobs report. Is that going to be weaker than expected? If that happens, then there's going to be a different conversation, especially if we have the jobs report. It's going to come out in September, which historically September, October are not the best performing ones. All right, so individual names. So first, obviously DELL, just a monster move since last week. I got those 100 calls last week into this week. I locked those in. In hindsight, of course, I wish I'd held them all. They're up, it was like 45 cents that are up nearly 2,500, 2,700%. But I still made some nice coin. I also added some 110s for next week, which are in the money now. I locked some of those in already to cover costs and some profits. And and I'll continue to hold those. I was looking for some more strikes, but I'll wait for the premiums to come down. Could this possibly go to, 120? Could it go up to its 50-day moving average, 125? Possibly. I mean, it's up 6 days in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 sessions in a row. So I don't know, it'll be a situation where there's some kind of consolidation or pullback. So I'll be patient on that one. But definitely a nice winner so far this week. SE Global, and I can go on a rant on this one for a while. I've posted a lot on FinTwit and in the chat room. It's such a great story. When it was my top 5 stock back, I think it was 2000. Was it COVID days? I forget, but it was a $30 stock, and the same story back then is the same story now. There's 3 segments. 2 are really good segments, and actually back then it was the gaming segment was the big driver of profits and revenues. Uh, the e-commerce side was the driver of revenues, but not the driver of profits. And then the financial segment is finally coming online and doing really well. So you take the financial segment and the gaming segment, and they pretty much subsidize the e-commerce segment. But now the e-commerce segment is going to eventually be cash flow positive, or at least profitable by the end of this year. They're still growing 20%. And you start doing these comparisons, and the gaming comparison I have in the Asia area is NetEase. And NetEase is substantial. It's a larger company. I don't know, it's $24 billion or so, has a bigger scope. But you start looking at that side of it, and then you look at the financial and the e-commerce side, which you look at Meli Cabra, MELI, the ticker, $78 billion or so valuation. in South America, and then you start pulling these different the segments away, and if they spun them off, I mean, you look, it's $40 billion valuation right now, only because the big move since its earnings. I I think it's triple digits. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. So I locked some of the 80 strikes in for a little over or close to 400% today. I added some September strikes. I might look for some more strikes to play for move into the triple digits, but just such a great story. Um, I can go on a rant for a while because it's one of those names you start digging into the name, pulling back the onion, and you say, "Wow, this it's an exciting story." But on the flip side, there's issues, right? Geopolitical side, you have Asia, right, and you have China and all the stuff going on with Taiwan, and not only that, the China markets have been struggling. So that continue to be a theme. So I don't want to be in a situation where I get caught where there's a pullback in China, which just pulls down SE just because, but really like that story. I'll continue to hold those strikes. Clear Secure, and I've posted this quite a bit on FinTwit and today as well. A great story. And back after its earnings, I thought this was the earnings. Once it held its gains, the earnings descended over $30, and it looks well on its way. Almost hit $29 today. You know, Unfortunately, I had the 2468 strikes, August strikes that I closed in for some nice profits. If I held those, they'd be substantial profits. But I went and got some September calls. I'll continue to hold those. I'll lock some in for costs when I get the chance and ride it. I think it heads over $30. Such a great story, and there's a huge bear case. I've wrote about this quite some time and did some rants where Bloomberg has come out with these negative pieces on Clear Secure, almost like the short contingent and the shorts are saying, hey, sending emails to Bloomberg, hey, here's a great story. And then they're short the stock. There's a 20% short interest on Clear Secure. And it's a name you look, it's very hard to make a bull case around it because it's what's the moat around their business? Quicker access through airport security, right? But then again, similar to SE, you start peeling back the onion and you look, and it's like they have NFL has a stake, Delta Airlines has a stake. There's a huge addressable market just outside the airlines with concerts, sporting events, security at hospitals, and things like that. So you look at a name like Clear Secure, and I think, and I'm not saying the sky's the limit, but they're fundamentally sound. Tons of cash, spinning off dividends, doing stock buybacks. They've bought back all their shares from the IPO. I tweeted that before. Just a great story, and it continues to shock me that the stock is not trading at substantially higher valuations. But I think that's going to change. I think it trades over $30. That's kind of the thought process there. Uh, Baidu added some more calls today. You had Alibaba earnings this morning, miss on the revenue side, beat on the EPS side. The stock shook off morning jitters, but then kind of stalled. Someone was posting in the chat room, was it 11 of the past 11 quarters, the stock has gapped down after earnings the next day. So maybe this is the outlier, and tomorrow Baba gaps higher. But still like Baidu here into earnings next week, so I'll continue to hold the calls that I have, and hopefully, I was looking. I think $90 would be a nice little breakout point. So like Baidu there. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Let's see if I can pull up the chart here. VKTX, nothing much to add here. I mean, slightly down today, just so disappointing. Ulta, I did my little rant, and it's funny because I had the Chewy calls, made some nice money, and then I had it before Roaring Kitty comes and posts the dog picture, and then posts his 9 million share position or stake that comes out. He didn't post; it came out via filing. But it's funny. Everybody, all these regulators and the SEC wants to come after Roaring Kitty for posting his account screenshot, right? But then you have Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway coming out and their 13F filing shows their new stake. They have a new position in Ulta, and Ulta is up 12% for no other reason than Warren Buffett has a position in the name, right? So it's like, how is that any different than Roaring Kitty? Anyway, so arguments can be made. I mean, he's just doing his filings. But if Warren Buffett has clout to move stocks, what's the difference between Roaring Kitty having clout to move stocks, right? Roaring Kitty is manipulating stocks. Warren Buffett is, the best. I don't, it's funny how you can make these comparisons, and what's wrong for one person is right for the other. Someone can be doing wrongdoings, but if someone else is doing it, it's not wrongdoing. So Just funny stuff. But needless to say, I'm no position in Ulta or what have you, but just not only that, Ulta is down quite a bit, so maybe that's some of the reason why it's having this larger move to the upside. Uh, but interesting stuff. I think that's about it, folks. I'll try to be back on audio later. Have a great day, folks. Rock and roll.